Should have been a cowboy. I should have learned to rope ride.
Dude, I know. Honestly, I didn't even know Chingy was gonna be there until we got there, and
Surprise appearance. How did you feel about that?
I was pretty stoked. I mean, I hadn't listened to Chingy in a long time, but then yeah, on the flyer, like on their big screen or whatever behind the stage, it showed the three of them, and on the tickets that Raven and I got, it just said Ja Rule and Nelly. So I was like, oh, that's sweet. That'll kept doing this on stage, and so I was like, oh, Cowboy Cole got to start hucking the C up there like Chingy.
Oh dear. All right, let's take a step back here for a sec. Cowboy Cole went to a concert last night. Here I am this morning. I open Instagram and I'm just cruising through the stories, and all of a sudden, my boy Cowboy Cole is at the most random concert I ever could have imagined in my life. Ja Rule walks up on stage. I'm like, is this guy still alive? Like last time I heard about Ja Rule, I was in grade six. Cowboy Cole, please walk us through last night.
Go ahead, put it on me. I can't do a very good Ja Rule
Well,
impersonation.
it sounded pretty good.
He's got that real raspy voice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does.
mom got Rave's birthday was on April 14th. My sister and mom surprised us with tickets to go see Nelly and Ja Rule.
Oh,
His
damn.
big time throwback. Freaking we bumped Nelly hardcore back in the Dizzy, right? Like I've got some
Hundo
bangers,
P.
dude. Bangers
Hundo
from
P.
Longest Yard, right? So yeah, it was so much fun, man. The place was absolutely packed. It was a massive party for millennials, and
That's what I was gonna ask you. Is it sold out? Like there's not a seat in town?
it looked it looked pretty full. Like some
Huh.
of the nosebleeds, like way at the top, were empty, but I mean the whole floor pit full, up by Raven Eye full. Like
Wow.
yeah, there was a lot of peeps in there last night, and they had a DJ in between each rapper, just
Okay.
bangers, dude. I'm talking throwback bangers, Lil Jon, East Side Boys,
Oh,
throwing it back, dude.
a
So
lot of
they got the lights on, all us millennials were fucking getting there, dude. It was rank. Yeah, it was a fun night.
Oh, that's amazing. I would love to go to something like that just because you wouldn't expect it and you haven't heard that music in so long. Nelly still comes out with music, I think, right? He's still going.
I think a little bit, yeah.
I haven't heard of Ja Rule though, honestly. Like
I
it was so that's what caught me by surprise when you were like Ja Rule hitting the stage. I was like, damn,
yeah.
who? I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy's still alive. Like, because I've literally like he was the biggest thing in the game back when I was a kid. And then something happened. He got beef with somebody and someone like
50
murdered him.
Cent.
50 Cent
Yeah.
squashed him.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right, dude. And my buddy Colin actually reminded me of that earlier when I was riding Ladue. We were talking
Okay.
on the phone and he was just like, yeah, he was like him and 50 with that beef. And I was like, whoa, really? And he was like, yeah, you don't remember that? They got like the biggest beef in rap history. I'm just like, oh shit, dude.
That's it.
Oh,
That's it. This is
oh,
before Lamar and Drake. This is for you young kids out there. This is where
yeah.
the beef started. This is
Yeah.
protein at the beginning of protein. All right. This is where it
Yeah.
all. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. You had a good time though. That's all that matters, bro.
Yeah, dude, Chingy put on a really good show because Chingy and
What's a Chingy song? I don't know. Chingy's like, I don't know who Chingy is. Great name though. I love the name Chingy.
I'd have to look one up. I can't remember one off the top of my head. But no, he'd have some bangers that you would hear and you'd be like, oh yeah, okay. Like, oh, he's in this song. Okay, dope, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was a
Okay.
one-man show up there. He put on a good show. Ja Rule put on a really good show. He even like came down into the crowd, mixed around. That was cool. And then Nelly had a few of his boys up there. There was lots of guys on the mic when Nelly was up there. But when he did some of his banger OG songs, dude, it was just chef's kiss, man. It was so good.
Yeah. Bro, batter up. Come on, Nelly. That guy was his songs are just like every
Matter
time.
up.
I'm the first to swing. Like, come on,
Yeah.
man. That's
Yeah,
classic
right.
shit right there. Like,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
you got Mozart, you got freaking Nelly. Like,
Yeah.
this guy is his music's ageless, and then he went country at the end of his career. I feel like, right? He had some
That
country
Tim
track.
McGraw song, like that's a
Oh,
banger. That was
Fuego. Did he
great.
play that?
Hmm.
Yeah, he definitely would have played that last night, and
So
but yeah, bro, it brought so much happiness to my morning as I drank sipped on my mate and watched Cowboy Cole throw down at the Ja Rule, Nelly, and Chingy concert.
yeah, in
It
this
was
cowboy hat.
in that cowboy hat,
Yeah,
of course. He had to
absolutely.
represent,
It's my
but
party.
All right, buddy. Well, today we got a special guest. We got Daryl from Alberta. He is used to be a bull rider. It's a guy I met recently through Keenan. Keenan always making the amazing connections, and just one of those people that like. You know when you meet someone and you very quickly become close friends and you don't know how to explain why? Like you meet people all the time and you might say hi to someone and never talk to them again. Or this guy, Daryl, like I met him and I just find myself talking to him on a weekly basis now, which is awesome. He's got some really great energy. He's an entrepreneur. He started his own logistics company. It's a big deal. It's a very successful company. And he's an advocate for mental health, and that's something that, as you know, I feel very strongly about. And yeah, I can't wait to chat with him. He's got a lot of knowledge to throw our way and some amazing stories.
Absolutely. Well, anybody you talk highly of, I'm pretty stoked to meet. So let's get to Daryl.
Hey,
How are you, sir?
good. How are you?
Good. I like that black felt hat, making me look like me and Cole here looking like rookies with our hats.
Well, you guys must be somewhere else other than Alberta. It's freezing.
I got the space heater on underneath my desk here. It's
We're trying to
Yeah,
live
me
that
too.
La Vida Loca. Cole just came back from Arizona. I just got back from Brazil. We're trying to hold on to the heat. But Daryl, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're a busy guy. We're super stoked to chat with you today.
No, I'm glad to be here. It's awesome. I'm
Daryl,
excited.
how do I pronounce your last name?
Mcavena.
Mcavena. Cole made a really good point before you came on, Cole.
I said Mcavena is close to Macarena. One and a two and a three
Oh
Macarena.
yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I've had that for about 30 years.
Damn it. I wanted to be the first.
My
Daryl,
kids, my kids picking up the theme song now.
Nice.
that's so funny. Before you came on, I was telling Cole that there's some people you meet in your life, and you say hi to them and bye, and you may never talk to them again. But then there's some people you meet in your life that end up becoming a part of your life, and I think you're one of those people. We met through Keenan not too long ago, but we've created a friendship very quickly, and I feel blessed to have met you. You have an amazing energy. You're doing some awesome things out there. I can't wait to explore everything you're up to. But I want to start, obviously, we talk about Western heritage and the cowboy way of life. You were a mean bull rider back in the day. I want to know how Western culture came into your life. How did bull riding come into to your existence?
Yeah, it started back when I was a kid. I was actually a city kid when I was younger. Lived in the city of Calgary, born and raised in Calgary, and but I had this uncle, and he was kind of like the John Wayne. He had this amazing ranch, horses everywhere, and he'd always come and visit us once a year. And he said, "You got to come up to the ranch." And so when I was about 10, started getting the itch and started go to visit him during holidays, right? Christmas, spring break, summer. And the more and more I went there, the more and more I just loved hanging out with him and my cousins. I had two cousins. One was younger than me and one was a year older than me. Both fantastic horsemen. The whole family was just wild horsemen back in the day. And it was just incredible riding horses in bars. And, it was just great, great stuff when you're a kid, right? So I just started, just loving that lifestyle and just gravitated. So I spent more time, at my uncle's than I did at home, and just started learning from them. They had a really cool natural horsemanship style. It was really cool. And one of the kind of the special days that I remember, they had a couple broncs that they were headed over to the LRA finals when I was a kid, and we were working some of the younger horses that they had. And I see my uncle loading up this horse, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" He's going, "Oh, we're just going to town. This one's a little bronky. We're gonna take him and see if he can buck there at St. Paul." And I'm like, "Oh, can we come?" So me and my cousins load in the back of the truck. Typical Western, kids. They're like, "Oh, we just jump in the back of the truck to town. We don't have to sit in the seats." And so yeah, we all hauled in and showed up at St. Paul in the LRA finals, and we're watching this wild black, stud buck, and they had some. I can't even remember who was on him, but it was some exhibition, and he was a good saddle bronc rider, and it was cool to see. And we're standing up on one of these catwalks, and I'm just like, man, this is a great lifestyle. Like this is so cool. me and I probably had long hair down to my shoulder. It's like my uncle's like, yeah, you got to cut that if you're going to hang out with us. And that's just kind of where it really started. Just started hanging out with them more and more. And, I had dreams of buying my own ranch and having my own horses. And it just kind of catapulted to, I was a wrestler for most of my young career, and I was wrestling throughout high school and university. And when I was at the University of Calgary and Mount Royal University, I was on the team there, and I was kind of hitting my plateau where I was just not liking wrestling anymore. Kind of done it long enough since I was 10 years old, and they had a UFC rodeo club there. And I'm like, rodeo club? Cool. What is this all about? And so, went and met with some of the guys there, and there was a bunch of calf ropers there, and I kind of liked calf rope, and I used to play with the rope a little bit. They said, "Oh, come on out. We're having a rough stock night at Old." So I went out, checked it out, and I had a horse at the time. I sucked at roping, and it was pretty comical. But my other buddies, we'd go out a few more times, and my other buddies were getting on bulls at the other end. So I'm like, this is kind of cool. So I went to the other end and checked it out, and they're like, yeah, we're just getting on. It's practice. I'm like, well, how does this work? And like, oh, you just pay $10 and get on. And I'm like, really? Kind of cool. So I paid my $10 and got on my first bull. And, I got off my first bull, rode my first bull. I'm like, man, this is pretty easy. I thought, I was pretty cocky. Oh, that's pretty easy. And guys are laughing. Hey, that was a pretty good ride. It's a pretty good ride. You should come out and do this more. And then, it was a long road after that, pretty easy ride. It was a long haul, but that was kind of the long and short introduction to getting into that Western lifestyle, living around my uncle and my cousins, and and then transcending from a wrestler to to a rodeo career. It was pretty exciting, but it was the biggest thing was I always loved the horses, man. I was always wanting to be around horses, and as I used to have. We're in the midst of kind of selling, but we used to have a ranch retreat here, so it's kind of like a dude ranch, and that was always one of my dreams. I was a city kid, and I was always, when I was a kid, wanted to be the guy that rides the horses. And then I seen that other perspective, like everybody wants to be a cowboy and a cowgirl. So maybe one day I'll own my own ranch and maybe teach them how to do that. And so my wife and I, Amanda, and my son Lincoln, we've been running this for about 7 years, and had the exciting lifestyle of trying to show some of the city folk on the Western lifestyle and just the beauty of horses.
Do you find you get lots of people from places like maybe LA, New York, or even like just bigger hubs like that are coming up?
Yeah, when we first jumped into this experience with this dude ranch, and it was amazing. Like, we were getting people from, like you say, New York, the Bronx, Utah, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, all around the world. And it was such a cool experience because, as you guys know, with horses, they allow people to express their feelings, and they're such a unique animal with their alpha beta waves to just break down some things. And I learned a lot about people just through our horses, and it was such a cool experience. Like, people were either happy or sad on the horse, but the horse was allowing them to feel the way they needed to feel in that time. And that was probably the coolest experience, is just having people just open up about stuff. And I was just a facilitator of guiding them on a horse, but the horse was the true moderator. Like, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. You can learn so much from horses, right? As we all know, and to bring someone that maybe didn't grow up around them or has never had the opportunity to pet a horse, to brush a horse, to ride them, like, it must be unbelievable. I always tell Clara, like, what a gratifying experience, right? To do that, to bring someone into your place and show them a horse and teach them, what is this? How long did you guys do the Dude Ranch for? Like, how long has this been a part of your life, Daryl?
Well, we started, it's about 7 going on 8 years. We were running it. I run a day business, so between the day business and the dude ranch, it was getting pretty busy. So we just started tapering it off a little bit, because I was doing trail rides all night, and during the weekends we'd do corporate retreats. We would do these cowboy experiences, cowgirl experiences. Cool job, and it wasn't really a job for me. It was kind of this cool lifestyle to teach these people. And we got a lot of friends out of it. Like some of my best friends now, I've met through them just coming to experience what we've got out here in Mosley. And yeah, it's pretty unique. But my wife has been, around horses all her life, and same concept. We both had this same journey, and at some point, it was just amazing how, the miracle came to fruition. And fortunately, it was an experience that we'll never forget. We'll probably start something else out west once we decide if we move or sell this place. That's kind of our goal. But man, it's there's nothing like it when you teach somebody just the basics. Like you see the smile on their face or the fear. I've had a 65-year-old lady. Her whole family were coming out here for her birthday party. The last time she was on a horse was when she was 10, and she got bucked off. Their goal is they wanted her to be on a horse for her 65th birthday. And I had this great horse that I was just working on. She was about 4 years old, just quiet, willing, do anything for anybody. But she was a slow horse. She had a lot of slow, no go. And so I put this lady on it. And let me tell you, her boys were, IKA all the way down the field, just racing and running and out of control. And she was just loving it, soaking it up. And by the time the ride ended, you could just tell like all this pressure from 60, 55 plus years just came off of her. And her dream was to ride a horse. And obviously it kind of got interrupted. But to see her at the end of the ride, like, man, I was so blessed
Yeah.
just to be a part of her blessing, which was incredible. It's just such an experience. So yeah, just love every minute of it. I got thousands of cool stories like that we'll probably still do more of that. That's kind of our goal, but we're just in a journey change right now, trying to get out west. So
You're gonna have to write a book about like the coolest experiences, the wildest wrecks. I can't imagine some of the craziest things people have asked you because they just genuinely don't know, right? So they just ask and you gotta be like, no, let me correct you. So you're gonna have to do a book on this.
yeah, I'll give you one quick one. The craziest thing, Cole, like you've got it right. I could probably write pages, but you see them walking from we got this 130-year-old cabin, right? So they're walking from this 130-year-old cabin. It's all modernized inside, but it's just a beautiful cabin. You see the couple walking along, and I'm looking and I'm like, flip-flops, skirt, and a tank top. Okay, I wonder how this is going to go. So they get over, and I'm like, so are you okay, like putting some cowboy boots on? And they're like, oh, you can't ride in flip flops? And I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit of a hazard. so, and then the skirt, it's a little awkward trying to get a girl up in a saddle and a skirt. And yeah, so it's interesting. But there's thousands of stories where, there's potential wrecks. Thankfully, with a lot of foreshadowing, I knew when the wrecks were going to come based on apparel and based on the way they walked up to me. And I was pretty well known for safety because my wife she is all about safety. So we made sure that we had a lot of walkthrough. In 40 minutes, I could have them prepared enough to be comfortable and safe. And I never had a major wreck that I ever got engaged with. I did have, the odd person kind of slide off. But it was just because of, certain things that they didn't remember, like taking a selfie, whoa,
Oh, yeah.
See you later. Oh
That's
my
probably not a
God.
good idea.
I would read this book 100%. You need to read this book. But speaking of Rex, let's talk about your bull riding days. You were one of the first guys to put on a helmet at that talk you did that I got to experience. Was it over Christmas? I don't know. Time is just flying by. Was it January maybe?
I think it was right after Christmas, January. Yeah.
Right after
Yeah.
Christmas, yeah, Daryl did a talk downtown Calgary, and I got to learn a little bit about his story. And I didn't know that you were one of the first guys to strap on a helmet. Tell us a little bit about that, Daryl. Why you decided to put on that helmet, or why you had to, and what that was like that period. Now it's normal, it's a law that I think if you're born after 94 or 96, you have to wear a helmet. But when you started, it was like no one was wearing a helmet, right?
Yeah, it was a unique year. It was 1995. It was the year of the protective vests were coming out. I just ordered a Tipperary from New York, out in the States there. It was on its way in, and I was in Innisfail, got on a bull into my hand and felt pretty good. And then the bull walked out of it a little bit and kind of flattened and got me on my pockets, and I fell underneath it and it was spinning around and stepped on my chest. Getting up on the chutes and I'm like, oh, out of breath. I sure could use that vest right now. That was kind of my first introduction of barely breathing. And, did I crush my lungs, my ribs? And so not very long after that, so I got the vest. Not very long after, it was probably about a month later, I was on this bull, and I was notorious for riding the front end. My mentor, Wasey Caffey, down Big Springs, Texas, had some really cool techniques and skills that he taught me, and I followed him pretty closely. And one of them was following the front end. I broke at the hips really good. I reached for the front end, and then I got away from it as quickly as I can. Well, I'd be so close that the odd bull I could smell him pretty easy because I was getting out front pretty quick. Well, this one bull called Big Bucks, I was out in front of the front end, and he just all of a sudden reared back his head and just smoked me. And a bullfighter named Daryl Robertson, he was a pretty good bullfighter back in the day. He was fighting that day, and I got off, and I could, when you have that, you can taste blood. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I get up and start running to the chutes, and I jump up on the chutes, and Daryl's like, goes like this, just like calling for the ambulance. I'm like, hey, what's wrong? He's like, oh no, you're good, bud, you're good. And so he grabs me and pulls me down, and I get hauled over to the ambulance, and another guy, Alex Gardner, that I used to travel with. He was a good little bull rider back in the day, and he's like, "Man, that doesn't look good."
Oh no!
I'm like, "Oh really? Okay." Never thought anything of it. So I'm sitting on the back of the ambulance. Back in the day, got to wait for one ambulance to replace the other. So we're waiting and waiting, and the whole rodeo's held up. I'm in Strathmore Hospital. My mom and dad come to pick me up because I don't want to pay for the hospital ride or the ambulance ride to Calgary. So I get in the van of my dad's little minivan thing, and I flip down the visor and I look at my face, and I'm like, holy crap, why didn't anybody tell me what I look like? My whole face, so my nose was pushed right into the back of my frontal lobe and pushed into my brain.
Whoa.
Thankfully, I wrestled and had no cartilage or any bone left in my nose. Otherwise, I would have been dead because it would have pierced my brain.
Wow.
So I physically looked like the Elephant Man. I had no nose. My whole face was smashed in, and I didn't feel a thing. To this day, I don't know if I had a concussion or not. I probably had some repercussions of it, but I didn't feel like any of the symptoms after. Rushed to Calgary Hospital. They did reconstructive surgery, kind of like with a hoof pick, straighten it all out. And then a day later, I went back in, and he's like, "Man, we did a good job." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Yeah, do you mind signing off on this document? We want to take some pictures and use this for our portfolio." I'm like, "What are we doing here? Like, what's this all about?" Obviously, some plastic surgery. They gave me some reconstructive surgery, and it was plastic surgery at the time. So, long and short of it, I signed off on the paper. My face was all good. I had 2 feet of gauze stuffed in my nose, and I said, "How long till I can ride?" He's like, "I don't know, man." He says, "You better put something on your head if you're going to ride." I'm like, "What, like a helmet?" And he's like, "Yeah." Okay. Well, I played hockey. I'm like, "Okay, is that what I need to do? Can I ride right away?" He's like, "Yep." I said, "Okay." So I went, and I just happened to have an iTech helmet back in the day, which is a hockey helmet with a clear shield. And I'm like, I wonder if iTech would sponsor me. So I called iTech, sent them a VHS video of all my wrecks and all my rides. And they sent me a whole bunch of helmets out and said, "Well, here, try these helmets first, and then let us know." And never looked back. I had a helmet on since 1995. I kind of uh, tinkered a little bit. I wore a mask. Scott Breding wore a mask when I was in the Montana circuit, and I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. Maybe I should try that. A little lighter on the head for centrifugal force. So I put a mask on for a while, but yeah, I was the first guy that ever wore it full time. Never took it off, and
Wow.
yeah, I adapted. It was a lot different, but I probably had my best success since I put the helmet on. So it was probably a good thing. I was blessed to get it on at that time. So it was good.
Well, that is for sure our best wreck story we've ever heard on this
Yeah,
podcast.
I need to see a photo of this. Like, I can't even imagine.
Can I can you guys see photos on here?
Yeah,
Should I
Yeah,
get
we
one
yes,
on?
absolutely could for
please.
sure. If
Oh,
you've got one,
yes,
please grab it. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
I would
Yeah.
love to see it. What's I can't imagine that moment, eh? Cole, when you pull down the mirror and you're like,
Oh,
oh dear, like
just your own horror film. Just wow.
what were the guys saying to you? Like you being the first bull rider with a helmet, and we all know bull riders and cowboys, we're tough and all this. What was it like? What was the reaction when you started coming around with the helmet? Was there some like negativity, or was everyone open to it? What was that period like?
Yeah, no, I grew up in the strong cowboy stage of rodeo, especially in the bull riding. Like there was a lot of toughs, Scotty Schiffner and I, and there's a bunch of guys that were in my kind of age bracket. I was older, but we all traveled in that period, that were true cowboys. And there was a lot of guys that, I'd get questioned all the time. It was almost, kind of bullying, right? Like I'd get the helmet on and they're like, "You're not a cowboy. What are you doing, you puss?" Like
Wow.
that it was always the comment, right?
Wow.
And, I just kind of stuck to myself and, I'd get in the odd fight, because it would get a little aggressive. They'd start pushing the buttons and pushing me and, playing it, especially at the cabaret. That's where it usually started. Oh, there's the guy with the helmet. There's the guy with the helmet, not a cowboy. And
Where's your
nobody knew
helmet,
the story.
Daryl?
Exactly. How come you didn't wear it to the bar? So you could just imagine the storylines,
Yeah,
right?
I
Or,
can
why
imagine.
don't you think for bowling?
That's why I asked. You had to have some tough skin to be doing that at that time. We were talking to Lucas Teodoro today, which is interesting, and he's a bullfighter for the PBR, and I was asking him, I'm like, have you guys ever thought about wearing helmets? And he's like, no, we wouldn't be able to see properly, and it was just interesting to me and then I said, well, the hockey players probably said the same thing, right? When they went to put helmets on, but it's interesting to think about it, like it not being an option. And that's what bull riding was. Like today, it seems like common sense, right? You wear a helmet, it makes sense, right? Like how many injuries do we see where you're like, wow, if that guy didn't have a helmet on, like his face would have been like Daryl's, like it would have been crushed. But yeah, I can't imagine what you went through at that period to be the pioneer, to be the first guy to put the helmet on and get in the back of that bull.
Because like were guys more
Yeah, it
down
was.
for the vests? Sorry to interrupt, but like they had to have been more open about the vests. So like why not for your
Yeah,
dome?
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah, yeah, exactly. The dome, like I think the vest started to look cool. The first jean ones, the denim didn't really look that cool. But when I got my first Tipperary leather one, then it was pretty classy, right? It started to have some apparel look to it, right?
It's like, I'm gonna wear this
Same
to
with the
church.
chaps, like it kind of. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We did, yeah, I got another part for the book, walking into a Taco Bell with your rodeo vest and your helmet on.
your helmet.
Some drive-by shooting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't part of the cowboy tradition,
Yeah.
right? Like so it was a long road. Like there was a big gap between me and then regular guys wearing it, like early 2000s. Like I'd go down south and there wasn't a guy wearing a helmet and they're looking at me. Like I remember when I pulled into Seminole, Texas, and the guy's like, yeah, you do this bull called the doctor. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? He's like, well, he's gonna knock your teeth out. And I grab my helmet. I go, no, he's not. So they had no idea of what is that thing. I'm like, it's a hockey helmet. What's hockey? They don't even know what hockey is, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Just explaining to them why this thing was even made for the first place for a Canadian.
Oh my
Exactly.
God. That's
Yeah.
one. Did
So
you
yeah, it's
Did you travel with Scotty Schiffner back in the day?
I did, yeah. So I was probably 24 and he was 16. A
Oh,
lot of those guys, Scotty Schiffner, Jace Hardy, they were all in that same age bracket, right? It was a great, like, man, what a great year. Chad Best Plug, just we were just chatting, Chad and I last couple of weeks ago about it. They were all in that little age bracket. So I was kind of the old guy. And yeah, travel with them. And the good thing is those guys never bugged me. Like we just went down the road and did our thing. But
nice.
there was always some guys out there. Wes David, him and I traveled for a while, and he actually had to wear one of my helmets. He's like, "Hey Mac, I'm getting on this. I think it was Blue Bells or something. I'm getting on this Blue Bells. You got one of those extra eye techs around?" So
Yeah.
threw my helmet over, had an extra one, and he put it on. And yeah, so it started a little bit of a trend, but yeah, we had some pretty big, tough cowboys back in my day where, the cowboy hat was the way to go. And, I remember some days with Scotty, like at Fort St. John at Daryl Mills, man, he took a good hit in the head. He was never wore a helmet and he had his cowboy hat on and he knew he was smart, right? Like he knew when he rung his bell and stuff and, he just left. I'm done. I got to
Wow.
medical myself out and stuff. But, there's times where, you gotta put it on, and there's times that if you're like a JB Mooney, and it just feels better without. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I do it even just riding horses, right? Sometimes some horses I can wear spurs, some horses I can't. It just feels different. Certain saddles, all kinds of things, right? But the biomechanics is so important, and if you have certain areas of your body that just need more freeness and less centrifugal force, a helmet does add a lot,
Yeah.
and
And talk
you
about
can get lawn darted.
Yeah, and concussions, right? Like this is a real thing. Like we're just now starting to see the effects of concussion, long-term effects, especially mental health, which is something I want to talk to you about, obviously. But not only in bull riding, but all professional sports, right? So you got to be careful if you want to do it for a long time and you care about your mental health, about your health. I think it's a no-brainer, right? No pun intended. To put on that helmet.
Yeah, it's there was no other way to do it. When he says, "Yeah, you can ride, but you need a helmet on," right?
It
And
was your only
so
option.
I did, put it on and never looked back. And change, I always say, even with my company nowadays, talking to staff and that, like change is good as long as you prepare for it. If you don't prepare for change and you're waiting for the inevitable, which is, something's going to happen, but you're not prepared, then it's going to be tough. And I was prepared. I was so mentally focused and my mind was on all I was going to do was ride bulls. Doesn't matter if I tear my bicep off, tear my groins, spiral fracture in the leg. It doesn't matter. I will ride bulls. I will rehabilitate myself. I will protect myself just to make it happen. Right. So it's pretty important that you got to protect yourself. And I mean, it's getting so tough to ride bulls nowadays with the athleticism of these animals. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're pretty insane what these guys are riding and covering. And so when you started wearing a helmet, did that take a little bit of a period for you to get used to that and the movement and the flow of that? How long did that take for you to get used to wearing that helmet?
Yeah, right off the bat, I think, my mechanics were decent at the time. I wasn't no world champion or anything, but I had some basic mechanics, right? So the mechanics got me through most of the jumping kickers. I could ride a jumping kicker all day long. Into my hand, I had to fight a lot because there was a lot of weight going to the outside. I was right-handed, so they'd take me to the outside. So it took a couple of years to really get, comfortable with the bull into my hand and away from my hand. Lots of training on the barrel. I went to Gary LaFuse. He helped me quite a bit, just trying because he knew I wore the helmet. So he was decent, like he just said, "Hey, we'll just adjust, right? You just got to drive harder. You got to fight harder on those bulls going away from your hand, and you got to use your science. If you're not using the science, it's not going to work." So yeah, it took, from about 95, I started feeling comfortable riding bulls probably in 98, where I could get on a bull into my hand and, oh, I got one into my hand, wouldn't worry about it. One away from my hand, wouldn't worry about it. Jumping kicker, wouldn't worry about it. The helmet just wasn't there. It just didn't feel like it. But yeah, it's an exercise. It's like training again, right? And the biggest thing is the neck muscles, right? Like I had a lot of weight on that head and a lot of force. Obviously, you over time you're gonna strain it, so you've got to work it. So thankfully, I was a wrestler, so I had a lot of neck bridging exercises and stuff that I did to protect my neck while I was wrestling. So I had to utilize a lot of that. But yeah, the mechanics of wearing a helmet, and some of these guys, you look at, Stetson, right? I mean, that guy's got the helmet figured out. Like he knows like the far laying back that he's doing right now. That is a key science move because the mechanics, he's feeling the weight taking him this way. So he's going to ride it that way and take himself all the way to the back end. So he's going to go to the back end, let the force take him as long as he can hold tight with his inside leg and his inside arm to bring him through. Because that helmet's sucking him to the outside every time. That guy's a master. Kai Hamilton, well, they traveled together. They're doing the exact same moves because the helmet is drawing them to the outside because of that weight and that force, right? So they've figured out the science. And now you're starting to see a lot of kids that are figuring that out where they can lean about a little bit more further back on their arm as long as they don't pull their bicep off. But they can lean back a little bit further to kind of avoid that, what I used to call the danger zone with the helmet, right? If I got too far forward, the weight would take me down. If I got too far back, it would give me to that one side or the other, right? I didn't have the whip that they do, right? I didn't figure that out until about 1998. It took me a while to kind of get that feel, but it's like anything, right? You can change a rope, you can change everything, but as long as you're ready for the change and you just adapt to it quick, you'll be able to prepare yourself and protect yourself.
Wow, that's awesome. I can't even imagine like riding a bull is hard enough, but to switch, and add something different when you've already been riding with a hat for X amount of years and have to relearn how to do it and weight's such a big part of it, right? Because of the centrifugal force and how fast these bulls are moving. But talking about change, I'm really interested to know because today you run a logistics business, a very successful logistics business. How do you go from bull riding to logistics? How did that change come about?
Well, I was always working, rodeo. You got to have two
Yeah.
jobs. So I was always working, and I worked for a couple big firms, Ace Hardware, which used to be Beaver Lumber, back in the day, just doing some warehousing. A bunch of rodeo guys were working there. It's kind of like the oil and gas, right? You kind of followed the rodeo guys wherever they went. Oh, they're
Yeah.
working there. Maybe they'll deal
Yeah.
with not showing up all the time.
And whoever
So,
lets you, whoever
um,
lets you take weekends, right? Take weekends off. That's
yeah,
important.
exactly. Right. So I heard there was, get some weekends, get a Thursday off. It was perfect. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so, yeah, so I was working at a warehouse for a while, and then a big company, Northern Telecom, they were a wireless communication company, came into town, and they needed some warehousing help. So I started warehousing there and kind of graduated myself up to a global logistics manager for them in the 90s. And yeah, of course, they went bankrupt, but I stuck out right to the end. They kept me right to the pretty much the last guy to go, and just really gained a lot of experience with them. And rodeo, is such a cool sport individually, specifically, and same with wrestling. But you have to manage your time, right?
Yeah.
You always got to manage your time. So there's time management, your budget. You're all about yourself, right? It's your budget. So you make the money and you spend the money. So you got to be the bank manager. You got to deal with your health and wellness. So you're always on the road. So you better figure out if you're the whiskey drinking, smoking cowboy, then it doesn't really matter. But back in the day, I was trying to stay fit for the most part. And, you had to worry about your health and wellness. And then obviously, the most important part is if you had family or whatever, you got to deal with your family, right? And that whole adjustment. So those concepts and pillars of my life really transcended into running a business. Really, I wouldn't say easily, but it was a pretty good transition because I was already doing it for 12 or 13 years, right? Just managing my own business, from truck to truck to, partner to partner, and, trying not to lose or go in the red, trying to break even or make money, trying to plan the scheduling. And, it's no different than long riding. You got to be somewhere at a certain specific time, right? So it was pretty detailed. And yeah, so when I, decided to not make a whole bunch of money for other companies, I thought, why don't I do it for myself? So I took the chance and said, well, worst case scenario is if it doesn't work out, I'll go work at a warehouse again, or move some freight, or deal with the trucking. And yeah, that was back in 2010, and haven't looked back. So I've been blessed to, to have a great bunch of people working around me, and always hire better people than me. So
That's awesome. That's a smart way to go. And what are you guys getting hit by the tariffs? What's going on with these tariffs right now? Is it been bad, good, or what's it looking like?
it's bad and good on both sides, right? I mean, I've gone through oil and gas issues with the economy, the crumble in 2011. And then of course with COVID and the floods, and I've gone through them all. So yeah, it's always the peaks and valleys. We just got out of a good quarter. Our first quarter was a tremendous quarter. Now we're into tariff quarter. But we're just providing lots of consulting and solutions for these tariffs, right? Because maybe they have to go around the United States, maybe they have to go domestically in Canada, Mexico, China, whatever it might be. We were already doing that, so we'll have a solution for almost any type of transaction in the logistics world. So yeah, it's tough for the customers. They're really panicking. I feel for retail, manufacturers, fabrication, all that kind of stuff. If you're bringing your main resource out of the United States, it's a tough industry. But I always say, if it comes down to it, I mean, you just have to apply it back to the consumer. That's the way it is, right? That's how the economy works. So if you have to add 25 points onto your products, that's what you got to do, right? And sometimes it's cheaper. And I'm not saying as a consultant that this is the wisest thing to do, but it is sometimes the easiest and most efficient way is looking at the cost analysis and go, is it cheaper to go around? Well, make sure you do the analysis, because I've done quite a few of them lately, and it's not. So
Wow.
it's just probably easier to take the tariff. And you can imagine it's like putting a helmet on and riding bulls all of a sudden, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of things you got to consider before you start going and hauling stuff from Mexico, because we know what Mexico is all about, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a main trucking lane and we have,
Yeah.
4,000 truckers in Mexico. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I love it. It's unique because I always have to come up with more solutions for customers, and hopefully I can satisfy some of them.
So you're staying hella busy building a business, but what else do you got for hobbies going on that kind of filled the void of not riding bulls anymore? What else you got going on?
Well, yeah, the biggest hobby, and I don't even know if it was really, it just kind of, is the mental health space for me.
Yeah.
I've been focusing for the last couple of years on mental health, and I've gone through some trials and tribulations, with like, we talked about the helmet and being bullied as a kid, and dealing with all that mental health challenge. Having friends and family commit suicide or potential suicide, and just a lot of things going on with anxiety, and all the space that is getting taken up, and our backpack is just getting so full of all these bricks. And I started seeing my friends going through the same stuff, losing money, embezzlement, all this stuff that we were all going through together. I'm like, man, he's going through the same thing. Wow. So I was like, we got to do something about this. And no one was really talking about it, right? There was no one saying, hey, Daryl, how you doing over there? I'm good. But in my backpack, I've got divorce and embezzlement and, theft and all kinds of stuff that people have done or lied and cheated about. But nobody really knew what was in my backpack. So I just kind of had this mission and purpose and in life to, how can I do something to give back? So last year we did our first customer appreciation mental health night with Brett Gardner, who's, as you guys know, world-renowned rodeo announcer, but he's a highly trained performance coach,
Yeah.
counselor. He's a machine in that space, and yeah, so him and I partnered on that, and then we did another one. We did a men's mental health movie night, our first annual. So we put that on and invited. Well, we had 100 men, 135 signed up, so we had a waiting list, and we had Brett speak, and I had a couple of my other buddies, former NFL and CFL players, show up and just talking and giving them permission to talk about their issues in life and being vulnerable. And so that was, kind of my true hobby, has been focusing, part time on that. And man, the mental health space, it's a big space, but we've seen some big changes already. Like guys are. Last year we did that event. Literally, I didn't even get to the movie, and I had some of my old rodeo buddies just opening up about stuff,
Wow.
just clearly talking about things that were bothering them. Even the next day, we had texts coming in from other guys saying, "Hey, my brother was, really concerned and started talking about some things he was challenged with." So that was the turning point right there. I'm like, okay, this is we got to keep doing this. If we can touch 15 guys with a an action movie, how many more can we do? So May 22nd, we're doing our second annual, and Brett's gonna join us, and we got some Calgary Flames alumni, and potentially the coach of the Calgary Flames is coming. So yeah, that's filling my time with that. My wife and I, we're pretty passionate about it for sure, and I think my motto is permission, right? We want to give men permission to talk about their feelings and their emotions, right? And yeah, it's pretty valuable because I don't know what's in your guys' backpacks, but I sure would like to know, right?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's so important. I like that's Daryl's hobby is to help people. Like, how amazing is this guy? Like, so thankful for the work you're doing, man, because it's so important just to create a safe space to talk about it. Like, people don't realize how much stigma and prejudice is still involved when we talk about mental health, especially with males. It's like, and especially in our culture, cowboy culture, we're tough, we cowboy up, and man, we've all had people that have gone way too soon because maybe they just didn't have someone to talk to, or they were too embarrassed to talk to someone. You need help. You need somebody to help you get out. Sometimes you can't do it alone. And that's why I love the initiative about men's mental health movie night. It's going to be on the May 22nd in Cochrane, right? Daryl, give us all the, for anybody that wants to go that's in Alberta,
Yeah.
what are all the details?
Yeah, so May 22nd at 6 p.m. at the Cochrane Movie House. A good friend of mine owns the theater there. He's opened up the doors. We got half the complex, so it's kind of a private area that we've got. It's we've got booths, we've got local organizations, some non-for-profits. We've got, like I said, Flames alumni is going to be there. We've got some
Yeah.
former Grey Cup champions, NFL players. Obviously, Brett Gardner. He's a fantastic guy to hang out and talk with. And lots of Western lifestyle guys are showing up. We have 80% of last year's group is coming back,
Love
for the
it.
first screening. And then we've got another screen for 100 guys to fill up. So I've got about 105 more spots to fill. We've got about 85 already filled up. So that's great. It's going to be pretty much from 6 o'clock till whenever we close the doors down. It's not a rush. My motto is always get up and get out, because guys don't do it, right? Like guys just don't
Yeah.
get up and get out. We're too busy, right? We're
Yeah.
doing stuff. So
Yeah.
we just
And
want to hang out and talk and relax.
and the best part is that not only are you going to create the space, you're going to talk to some extraordinary fellas, you're going to hear some extraordinary stories, but you're going to get to watch a great movie as well, right? Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. It's supposed to be amazing. This guy, what's his name? The actor, Tom Cruise, right?
Tom Cruise.
Guy's a
Yeah.
legend, bro. I was watching a
Yeah.
video the other day, like that video of him with the dirt bike is insane. Have you guys seen that? Where he jumps over the cliff with a backpack. Like, he does all his own stunts, and one of the stunts is he's got to like ride this motorcycle off this like crazy jump off of like the side of what looks like the Grand Canyon, basically. And then he's got a parachute, and they're filming all this, and he's doing it. And the other day he was talking about this other scene where he had to jump out of a plane, and it was like above, like it was pretty much already like you're getting into space territory, and you have to learn all these skills to be able to skydive from so high, and unbelievable. But so you get to watch an amazing movie. But Daryl, for anyone that wants to go, how do they get tickets? Like, how does it work? How do we get signed up for this?
Yeah. So right now, the best way is just to email me at Daryl. So Daryl at PFM Freight. So Peter Frank Mary Freight.com. And it's a free event. Everything's paid for. We got food, we've got beverages, we've got the movie, popcorn, you name it, we got it. And lots of prizes. Flames have donated some great prizes. WestJet's on board. They've donated some great prizes. Lots of good sponsors. We got Mental Health Network that's sponsored. And yeah, so we got lots of great sponsors. But the best part is it's free and it's a night just to hang out. And you're going to get everybody. You're going to get cowboys. You're going to get hockey players. You're going to get firefighters, policemen, entrepreneurs, business owners, and just a lot of people you probably haven't seen for a while, which is kind of the cool part too. So it's a little bit of a reunion. So yeah, getting pretty excited. And yeah, that's and working some magic on some other stuff down the road, hopefully. And there'll be more of that stuff to come. So yeah, I got lots of good ideas and trying to initiate. So
Nah,
That's
you're
huge.
doing so. Yeah, so go ahead, Cole. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's nice to have events like that coming into spring, right? Like now that the winter freeze is melting away and people are wanting to get out and looking for
Yeah.
reasons to get out, like now is the time to come sponge yourself and cleanse yourself of maybe some of the dark bricks that got tossed in the backpack over the winter, because that's just gonna
Yeah.
happen where we live up here. That's just the nature of our beast for our winters. So yeah, this sounds like an incredible event. And Brett Gardner, man, I said it, he is the king, dude. That guy is so good.
man,
He's
if you guys, yeah, if you can make it, I'm telling you, like I've heard him now, I think 6 times. Every time's different. But he's so impactful. But the best part is he's a clinician, but he doesn't talk like one. It's incredible. So
yeah.
all kudos to Brett. He does amazing stuff for me. He's always, if I say mental health, he's in. I love the guy. And I couldn't do any of this stuff without him. So I just appreciate what he does in the mental health space, and he's the most giving guy. And fortunately, he's riding them in my backpack right now, so that's good because I could use him. So,
We got to get Brett on the show. Speaking of which, I'm just here thinking, how have we not gotten him yet? We need to get Brett on. I know he's busy, but I think we can all say what a huge heart, right? Like I don't have a
oh yeah,
single like negative second to say about this guy. Like he just every time I see him, he's so kind. He's so gracious. He's always talking to people, putting a smile on people's faces. And what a professional! How many times did he win? Like announcer of the
11
year,
or
like
like 11 or 12.
13.
11 or 13?
He's
13, yeah.
13 time at the Canadian Finals rodeo, 13 times, multiple times PBR,
Wow.
Calgary Stampede, multiple times. He's your face at the Calgary Stampede.
Hmm.
And he was actually the Lifetime Achievement Award winner for Zane Lambert Award, which that's a hard one to get because the bull
Man.
riders are voting, right? And the stock contractors. And man, he deserved that one. But yeah, he's a blessing to have. And he's a busy man. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, he's covering some serious rodeo and mental health space.
Yeah, 100% doing good. We got to get Brett in the show. But anyone that's listening to this, if you're in Alberta, May 22nd in Cochrane, 6 p.m., Mission Impossible, the final reckoning. Brett's going to be there. We're going to have some guys from the Calgary Flames, past CFR, right? Not, sorry, CFL football players will also be there.
Yeah, see, yeah, yeah. We
So
got
make sure you
CFL
check
Grey
it
Cup
out.
winners.
That's amazing. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you go because it's only good things, and it's an amazing networking event as well, right? Like I'm sure you get to meet some important people, and who knows where it's gonna take you.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Huge networking. It was great last year. We had lots of guys connecting, talking about business, and
Nice.
we got Brothers Path there. They're a men's networking group where they just go out and do things together. And yeah, so yeah, it's a huge. And I just talked to a guy an hour ago. He's a guy I met there last year. Moved to town, started a business
Well,
with GT Turf. They're a turf company. He had no friends, right? He just moved here and he came out and I connected with him. I invited him out to Thanksgiving dinner. And so now he's starting to get some friends, right? So there's another reason why you get people out, right? Sometimes you just never know who's, trying to find somebody to connect with. So
a
Yeah.
100%. That's huge. That's huge. And you know what? We all know the importance of having people in your life, friends. It makes all the difference, right? Especially when you talk about mental health and well-being. They actually did a study. It was like over a 70-year study. Harvard did it to try to see what gave people more longevity. Like they looked at health, they looked at what people were eating, how often they went to the gym, where they lived in, where they slept. They looked at all aspects of your life. And do you know what made people live longer? Friendship.
yeah, mental health.
Friendship.
Yeah, mental health It's friendship, man.
Yeah, having people around like that, there's accountability, you gotta talk to them, you gotta ask how they're doing, and that just gave people a longer life, which is so awesome. Daryl, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, buddy. You're a light, man, in this world, and you're doing so many amazing things. You're helping out so many people. So thanks for making the time. Thanks for being in my life. And Cole's gonna ask the final question. We ask all our guests this. It's an important question, so please pay attention.
All right, so we love to ask all of our guests. We like to ask them if they are not a cowboy. We want to find out what kind of cowboy that they would want to be. And you've kind of already walked both paths a little bit, so we're gonna have to ask, since you are now a cowboy, you went down the path, you've paid your dues, you've done all the dang things. So since you are a cowboy, what would you be if you were not a cowboy?
Well, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so I'm guessing I'd probably be some sort of NASCAR racer or something fast. So I'd definitely be, doing something that's gonna push my limits a little bit. I think anything that makes my heart pump and the blood's flowing, I think that's what I'd be doing for sure, and just racing down a track or something like that, and,
You give me
bumping
motocross
and grinding.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe motocross too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah,
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 I
I'd
could
be
see you
into
in the
that.
corners like kicking on other bikes,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
Brad
yeah.
getting around there. Yeah,
Man, doing like
Little
360s.
elbows.
little high elbow. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Hey, little tabletop, kicking out the wheel. That'd
Hey,
be me
never
for
too
sure. I'd be
late.
loving
Lights,
Never
yeah.
too late.
it. Oh man. That's a hobby.
Yeah, yeah, just put an idea
That's
in
a
your head.
that's a hobby right there. Okay. I'm all over it. I'm
Oh
all over it.
man. Well, Daryl, thank you so much, buddy. Thanks for making the time to chat with us today. Best of luck. Men's Health Movie Night, May 22nd, 6 p.m. Cochrane. Make sure you got to be there because it's going to be the event of spring. Cole's going to be there because he needs to make some friends. I can't be there because I'll be in Brazil, unfortunately. But yeah, buddy, it's going to be a hit. I know it's going to.
Yeah, thanks guys. I really appreciate you having me on, and yeah, you guys got a great show, so I really
Uh,
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Daryl.
sir. We'll chat soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Ciao.
Dang, what a cool guy, man.
Oh, such a good guy, right?
Like I know we chatted because I didn't know who he was, and you're like, we booked Daryl, and I'm like, tell me a little bit about Daryl, and then you were telling me about Daryl. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's done so much in not a lot of time. And dude, I couldn't imagine the razins he would have taken for wearing that helmet, dog.
Right?
Oh my God.
Right, dog? Like we're talking like back in the day, Cowboy. Like
Yeah.
Cowboys come a long way. Like,
Oh yeah.
wow. Bro, this guy probably like it's because he's a calm guy. I'm sure he would like the last thing he would do is fight. Like I could see Daryl, like some guy like hitting him in the back of the head and he still probably wouldn't want to fight. Like, but if he was a guy that fought a lot, like that's all you would do is fight
Yeah,
because
you just be defend, defend, defend. Like, and I think
man,
it's funny too that like, Scotty Schiffner, Chad Bestplug, guys like that weren't bugging them. They were just like, whatever, get in the truck, let's rodeo, like
but
show it on the
bro,
arena, right? Like ride the bulls.
bro.
And those were the guys winning all the shit.
Champions don't fuck with other people. They don't
Yeah.
care what you're doing. They're not going to talk you down because they're too busy living their fucking life, living their goal,
Yes.
making it happen, winning gold buckles. That's why I was going to say that. Like, of course, those guys didn't say anything because those guys were winning and they were
Yeah.
focusing on their rides, not on who's wearing a helmet, who's not, right?
Yeah, exact same thing was going through my mind. I was just like, that's so classic, dude.
Yeah, 100%. No, yeah, of course, those guys didn't say anything because they're champions. You know what I mean? And Scotty Schifter won the Stampede twice, I think, right?
I think for sure.
Yeah, I think he won it twice. I think he won it twice. Chad won it once. Yeah,
Yeah,
those
Chad
guys
won.
are classy, genuine. But yeah, I mean, I just like, I love meeting people like that because it makes me feel like a piece of crap because I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. Like this guy is running his own business. He's got a dude ranch. He's got a wife and kids. And his hobby is like helping people with
Yeah,
mental health. Like, and I can barely take my garbage out. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, right? Like,
Like it's just good though. That's why iron sharpens iron, right? You see, you cannot do stuff when you see lead by example. And he's not out here telling us how we should live our lives. He's just telling us how he lives his life. And guess what? That influences you to want to be a little bit better, right?
Yeah, you can tell he genuinely just wants to connect with you.
Yeah.
Hey, just let's have a good combo here.
Hundo people. And he asked, it's like, what are your hobbies? I was like, oh, here it comes. He's like, yeah, I'm doing my mental health stuff. I'm
Well,
like,
honestly,
oh.
I thought he was gonna say I love to rip dirt bikes because he totally gave me the vibe of somebody who would just absolutely shred it in the
I
ground.
just rip dirt bikes. I'm not helping the world. Oh, you're hilarious. Anyways, Daryl, what a great guy. We need more Daryls in the world. And we need to get Brett on the show. I'm going to send him a message right meow. I can't
Yeah.
believe I haven't reached out to him yet. Sometimes the people right in front of your nose and you can't see it because your nose has been knocked in by a 1,500-pound boulder. I
Yeah.
would love to see that photo, by
You
the
gotta
way.
text him and get a photo.
I thought he was going to show us. He's like, can you see it?
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought he was gonna
I
too.
was like, where
So,
is it?
oh yeah,
No,
we
I'm
need
going to
that
message
photo
him
so
right
we can
now.
throw it up on our Instagram page for everybody to
And
see.
so I can sleep tonight. Like I need to see this. Like there's and like those guys did a great job because you can't tell, eh? Like he looks
No.
great.
Yeah, no, I honestly thought that maybe he was just riding bulls with a helmet from the start because everything looked just normal.
All right, bro. I'll let you get back to your Ja Rule.
Yeah, binging all of his discs.
Binging Ja Rule. Go ahead, old son.
Uh,
Well, thanks, buddy. It's great. Another great episode. And if you guys are listening and you're still here with us, make sure you check us out on YouTube, Instagram, OnlyFans. We're everywhere. You're gonna love it. If you got a foot fetish, you'll love it even more. We should make an OnlyFans just for jokes.
yeah, honestly, that would be kind of funny. People would probably be like, I wonder what they do on
They
there.
would pay us just to
$5,
see. Yeah, they just
right?
want to see it. And then you
Just
log
in
on.
there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, you creep.
Yeah. Gotcha, motherfucker.
I got you, bitch. Well, now that you're here, though, how would you like
Yeah,
to
here's
see
my
my
hairy ass.
nutsack?
Oh, frick, we've gone too far
All
again.
right, ladies and gentlemen, go listen to Ja Rule. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.